Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor. The easiest way to shop for the best tickets, thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Baseball season, that's all we have left. We don't have NHL, we don't have NBA, no football, got baseball. Guess what? My listeners get $10 off baseball tickets the first time they use SeatGeek. All you have to do is use promo code BSMLB. And that's it. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. The Bill Simmons Podcast also brought to you by CreditWise from Capital One, the free app that lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. You can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. Download CreditWise today. And finally, we're brought to you by the Ringer NBA Show. I hope you were subscribe to the Ringer NBA Show because we have a lot of good stuff coming for draft week with all of our experts from the Ringer's NBA Draft Guide, Kevin O'Connor, Jonathan Charks, Danny Chow, some Mark Titus maybe in there. Who knows? Who knows who's going to show up next week? But I'll tell you this much. I did a Ringer NBA Show podcast. If you're hoping for basketball from me this week, you heard a Kevin Durant podcast that we taped on Tuesday night and ran on Wednesday at his house. Hope you listen to that one. Right now, we have Will Ferrell coming up. But Chris Ryan and I did a whole Ringer NBA show that we put up yesterday. We talked a lot about the differences between LeBron in 2010 and then the decision and KD in 2016 and how he handled that. Because a big question I've been getting the last couple of months is, why did I take the LeBron thing so personally as a basketball fan, and yet I didn't take the KD thing personally? So we did a deep dive on that, and we talked about the draft and some trade rumors we've heard, Blake Griffin, whole bunch of things. So check that out if you love basketball. The Ringer NBA Show, definitely subscribe to that. Right now, Will Ferrell is coming up. First, Pearl Jam. All right, we're taping this on Wednesday, June 14th. Mm-hmm. So it's running tonight.
June 14th.
Will Ferrell, first time ever we've done a podcast together. We've circled each other for a while. Yeah, like, there's been circling.
Like two pit bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was bound to happen at some point.
Neither one knowing who's going to strike first.
Yeah, it was like we were both waiting for one of us to make the first move. And then I don't even know who made it. It was like a third party.
But I was maybe going to do your HBO thing.
Yeah,
and then
it was going to happen.
And then,
then that show,
that show literally
fell through.
I've been on the end of that.
Yeah,
when things fall through.
Yeah. So what's going on with you? You got a movie?
I got a movie
which I watched on my iPad, which made me laugh.
Called The House, which I'm going to get out of the way.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way now.
Right?
Yeah.
Funny movie.
Yeah.
Myself, Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas. We are a couple who is trying to finance our daughter's college education by running an illegal casino.
Yes.
In the neighborhood. Who wouldn't want to see that?
It had a lot of things I like. Gambling, chicanery. Who wrote the movie? A bunch of people?
Andrew Cohen and Brennan O'Brien.
Because there were a couple parents.
They were the guys who wrote Neighbors.
Because there was a couple hidden parent things that I really enjoyed about the daughter going away to college, and they were like, let's put her in a sandwich and watching The Walking Dead. Like, that's all stuff I identify with.
We definitely wanted to build up the fact that, we were a tight-knit family, and
it worked,
and actually have it be, dare I say, sweet.
Yes.
And the moment at we do a scene at the movie where we go through all this crazy stuff. And it's the day where we drop her off at college. And Amy, it was a legitimate acting scene for Amy and I to come to grips with saying goodbye to our daughter, but also realizing that we aren't going to be alone, that we are each other's best friends. And we were like literally crying that day at beautiful Long Beach State, doubling for Bucknell University.
Yeah.
So,
Bucknell Patriot League getting some props.
Getting some
a lot of
Bisons,
Bucknell love.
The Bisons.
Might drive the admissions up.
Buck, they will see such a spike this fall.
So All right, let's go backwards.
Okay, backwards.
The
We were talking about the NBA Finals. Anyway, it's
let's
your
do that
show.
first.
It's
No,
your show.
Let's do that first. Let's do that first.
You
You're
were
a
asking
diehard
me-
Laker fan.
Yeah, and you're asking me if I've been into any final games, and I'm in a wonderful position where I get these invites
Yeah.
to come fly up and come to one of the one of
Yeah.
the games up at Golden State, and any other rabid normal sports fan would be like, of course, I'm going in a heartbeat. But then I always feel, I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to wear Golden State swag.
You're not wearing the yellow T-shirt
I'm not
that's on
going
the seat.
to, going crazy.
Yeah.
I'd be there for enjoying these two teams and these great athletes and this back and forth. But I feel slightly disingenuous, only because, yeah,
And
I'm a Laker fan.
You're a
So-
lifelong Laker fan.
lifelong, since I can remember watching the Lakers on KHJ Channel 9
Yeah.
with like Sweet Lou Hudson
Oh.
passing to Kareem
Yeah.
before, I think even before they had Jamal Wilkes.
Yeah.
And and they would kind of, Kareem would score all these points and they'd barely make it into the playoffs and lose to the Denver Nuggets and
Yeah.
Dan Issel in the first round.
He would have like 39 points a game, and they would
but
still
no
lose.
one else could score.
Well, they traded everybody to get him. That was the problem.
Yeah.
It's a bad move to
So,
go to a new team that has to
I'm-
trade everyone to get you.
I'm a legit born and raised in Southern California, So no, my answer to your
So
question
who was
was
your favorite Laker?
I didn't go to any of the finals.
Who was your favorite Laker then?
It depends on the type of play. I mean, overall, I'm going to go
Yeah.
with Magic.
Okay. That's the right answer.
Eccentric choice?
Yeah,
Like
so
Kurt,
wild card.
Kurt Rambis. I just loved that this guy with the glasses could actually play ball.
Right.
Like, obviously he was a thug and he came in to kind of be the enforcer, but if you left him open in the corner, he'd actually knock down a 15-foot shot.
And he could fill the lane.
And readjust his glasses. Yeah,
Right.
readjust his glasses on the break and fill the lane. Like, that's a cool player.
They always talk about the technology and the advances with like dieting and surgeries and stuff. They never talk about glasses. Poor Rambis had to wear like these old school Buddy Holly glasses.
It was superstition, probably. He probably was like, I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't play without...
They're like, Kurt, here are contact lenses.
Here,
He's like, no.
no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So Magic's now running the Lakers with
He
Rob
is.
Pelinka, Kobe's agent.
right. What do we think?
A lot of weirdness going on here.
What do we think about that? How do we feel?
I think Kobe's agent is a smart dude who's going to do a good
Yeah.
job. I think that guy's pretty shrewd.
an
I mean, he
interesting-
convinced them to give Kobe $25 million a year when he was like completely washed out. That was pretty smart.
I know. It was such a bizarre year that year.
One time I was with you, I'm going to say we ran into each other at a Kings game. I'm going to say like 3 or 4 years ago.
With your kids?
I was with my
Yes.
kids. And you started doing a Kobe impersonation, and I was dying. And I can't.
I
even,
was?
I would make you do it again, but I can't even remember what you were
I don't
impersonating.
remember what yeah.
It was. It was. I think there was some sort of argument at that point about whether he was being, he was shooting a lot and he was past his prime, and about him yelling at about him being a role model for the younger players or something. But but you must have met Kobe a bunch of times, right?
He came and he did a cameo in Daddy's Home movie I did with Mark Wahlberg, where he
I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. Like I haven't. Daddy's Home hasn't been on in my house like 20 times.
You never know. I always like to preface.
No.
But no, he came on and there was such a feeling of like, it was like, Kobe can only shoot for an hour. And and be ready. And the director was like, I know you're not in the part of the scene with him, but would you come and be on the court at the same time? Anyway, I was late getting there because they didn't tell me that he had gotten onto the court yet. And they're like, wait, Kobe's there? Oh, let me go, make sure. And apparently, he could not have been nice. He stayed like as long as they wanted, and he was great. Of course, that was the game where he tore his rotator cuff.
Oh no.
Against New Orleans. So,
oh god.
And still played.
Oh, that's right. You filmed that whole movie in New Orleans.
Yeah.
There was even an extended Pelican scene. I mean, in the arena. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the scene that got put on YouTube that people thought I literally was drunk and had run into the
Oh, they thought
crowd.
it was Will Ferrell as a
they-
drunk person?
People extras who were in the crowd had posted, were filming it. It got on YouTube, and all of a sudden there was this huge thing like, people like Will Ferrell, like, he
got a
should be
problem.
thrown in jail. He's got a problem. I never liked him from the beginning. This just confirms it. How dare these people think they can run on the court at halftime of an NBA game and peg a cheerleader in the face with a ball? And it's like, no, it's for a movie. Yeah.
What do you think Netflix and all the streaming services have just completely changed the rewatchability of movies for kids in that.
Yeah.
Like, I have a 12 and a 9.
Right.
I sound like,
You
remember
got a 12 and a 9?
Yeah, it's like what they
I got a 13, a 10, and a 7.
Remember when announcers just stopped saying injuries? They would just say the body part. He's out with the leg. He'll be back later. Now I just say the numbers. But yeah, so
Or in
they watch
or
everything.
in hockey, lower body
Lower
injury.
body, yeah.
Yeah.
So like the problem for like when you do something like Daddy's Home
yeah.
and iTunes is just an evil beast. They'll do the buy it now before it becomes
Yeah.
available for rent for like a
Right.
week.
Right.
And kids don't understand money. I mean, it's like a $10.
No. Yeah.
It's available now. Buy
Yeah.
it now. It's
Yeah.
like, well, let's wait a week.
Yeah.
We'll rent it. No,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
buying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then they watch it like 12 times. So
And-
they're intimately familiar with Daddy's
And
Home.
are you finding they're watching it the whole way through, or are they just sampling?
No, it's on.
Yeah.
It's on. The movies,
Because I'm curious if people are going to start watching movies the way they listen to music,
just scenes.
just scenes.
Well, I think Step Brothers is probably guilty of that, right? Because there's some of
Probably.
the YouTube scenes, there's
Yeah.
just like crazy amount of
Yeah.
views.
I think they'll all, anyone can dice up any of this stuff now and figure out what chunks they like.
Step Brothers was your lost great comedy. I talked to Adam McKay about this because it's had this resurgence the last 3
Yeah.
years. And I was like, I asked him, like, why was this like a belated, now it's to the
Yeah.
point it's at? Why didn't that happen at the time? And he was like, probably some fatigue. Like, you had done a lot of comedies, right? You'd put out 8 straight years of comedies at that
Yeah.
point. That was the only explanation we could come
Oh,
up
really?
with. I don't know. What do you think it was? Why did that take 5 years to become this? Now it's like a staple. I feel like that's one of the defining comedies the last 10 years.
I mean, Adam and I have discussed how there's always been a bounce with any of these movies, though. But
Yeah. Anchorman was probably the biggest one, right?
Because it's happened with even in Anchorman, same sort of deal. It was like once it got out 2 years later, and they do those insane Turner runs where
Right.
they run it a bunch.
Yeah.
And there's this whole second wave.
Yeah.
And then obviously when DVD was huge. But it happened even for like a movie that, like even Talladega Nights, that had a massive theatrical existence.
Yeah.
There were still, it still kind of had this second bounce. But I think Step Brothers was more acute because we got some of the more punishing reviews that we ever had, and it might have kept people away.
Really?
One of which is the best. You need to look up the Roger Ebert review of Step Brothers.
He was upset about it?
It's crazy. Not only is he upset, he lobbies his readers to not watch it, to not buy it when it goes on DVD, to not encourage studios to keep creating movies like this.
Yeah.
Because it's literally the fall of Western civilization. The fact that this type of behavior keeps, getting supported. Uh-oh. AC went on.
All right. That's Roger Ebert.
Little Ebert's coming to shut this
God,
whole
what just
thing down.
happened?
That was spooky.
Jesus.
But it was
That seems like an overreaction.
it was an amazingly he got really spun out.
Did that
by
hurt your
movie.
feelings?
No, because we when the movie plays well and does well, you kind of actually love those
Yeah.
because they're really fun to read later.
Right.
But yeah, that one kind of keeps growing. I don't know. Yeah.
I had the parent dilemma is, do you let them watch the version they shouldn't watch?
Right.
Or do you let them watch the TNT Comedy Central with the bleeps and all that stuff?
Or the weirdest one I stumbled across was a version on Lifetime. They aired
Step
Step
Brothers?
Brothers on Lifetime.
Oh my God.
And I was watching it with my wife and my 13-year-old. We're in some hotel room on a trip somewhere. And we're flipping around. We're like, Lifetime? What, Step Brothers? And they had literally made it Lifetime friendly.
Yeah.
Either by bleeping language or... Yeah. And we were just laughing, going, oh, this is an amazing version.
I decided to go unedited with my son because he's degenerate. Like, I can't stop it at this point. He's going to find it either way. And it hit his funny bone like I've never seen in comedy. I was really pleased and happy, and I'm a terrible father. But the drum set scene, the whole
funny,
thing. I mean, it's just...
The irony that we're talking about it today, my assistant today dropped off... what are those cases called that you get a plastic case made for memorabilia? You either put a baseball in it or...
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
There's a name for it.
Yeah. I can't remember.
We can research this. You can have the automated voice come in later and go. Yeah. But she just... today, she's like, how does this look? And we made a special display case for my prosthetic testicles that I used in the movie, which is my one keepsake from that movie.
That's very smart.
Yes.
It's a good one to keep.
So Brennan's ball sack is the plaque.
So when they're making prosthetic testicles...
$10,000 worth of prosthetic balls.
I was going to say, is that a lot of trial and error? Are you deciding whether the balls look good enough?
There were a couple... I think there was just... I'm trying to remember because I've had 2 instances with prosthetics.
What was the other one?
Get Hard, where I had to show a prosthetic penis. Or Matt Walsh did.
Yeah.
And we had a couple meetings on how that penis looked. The balls, I feel like it was a home run right out of the... It was just like the first time I saw them, like, yep, those will work great.
Which movie, if you had to pick your favorite of all the movies...
but I was going to say, back to your point about why movies have the second, and subsequently, which we can't figure out why, Anchorman 2 isn't mentioned. I don't get anyone coming up talking about Anchorman 2.
It's going to happen. It'll happen.
But we figured out it's because Paramount, I think their little subsidiary cable thing they own is Epix. It doesn't.
I'm like one of the 5 Epix subscribers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it repeats on Epix, which no one has.
That and Creed.
Yeah.
It's just Creed and Anchorman 2. Just
that second viewing of Anchorman 2.
It'll happen. It's like sometimes it's like wine. You just don't know what year is going to be the right year to drink it.
That movie's good enough to be mentioned again.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I think.
So what's your favorite one of all of them? What's if you're counting them as all of your children?
All of the children.
What's like the A-list student of them?
The one that stands out as the favorite, and it's a hard choice, is Anchorman because of the journey that it took.
Right.
And it's kind of the Cinderella story of the movie no one wanted to make. And
is that true?
Yeah. We literally had Adam and I talk about this all the time, that we had, I think, 10 rejections in one day of people wanting to make. We even had, if you notice, David O. Russell is a producer on the first Anchorman, partly because we had kind of struck up a friendship with him at that time, and he was like, why doesn't anyone want to make this? Look, I'll be a producer on it. And he even tried to get people, and we just literally, in fact, what was the company? There was a financier. We even did a read through for them, and we filled the room, and we got, I think John C. Reilly was even in the read through. We got a bunch of great actors to do it. And this guy who runs, he was kind of the CFO of the company. It was Arnon Milchan's film company.
I don't know who that is.
He's this Israeli arms dealer who also did films. And the guy was like, "Oh, that was the funniest read through I have ever sat through, but we can't make the movie."
That was it.
They had already determined that for whatever reasons, they just weren't going to make any money off that subject matter. And it was stuck at DreamWorks, and it took Old School coming out and being a hit, and DreamWorks realizing they had Anchorman to all of a sudden be like, "Wait a minute, what about this?
Right.
We'll make this." And we're like, okay. So the fact that it was kind of 3 years, and then even once we were shooting it, we felt like we were playing with the house's money. We were just like, I don't know if this will work.
And McKay had never directed before, right?
That's first time directing, and we're just like trying the most bizarre stuff, and even then, even in the testing that you do in the movie, it kind of had a bizarre audience. Was once again, some people got it right away, other people were just reacting in such a they didn't know what they were watching. We also had to reshoot the ending, so all of those things, and to kind of walk through that fire, and to have it be what it's come out to be
sometimes it's just on for a month straight.
Yeah,
it'll be like a TNT run or TBS run, and then it's on
Right.
HBO, and then all of a sudden AMC or wherever, and it's just
we
on.
even had one of the marketing people at the studio at that time say to other members of the press, "Oh, you don't even have to watch it. It's not that good." We found out
Jesus.
later. Yeah, and I had a buddy of mine who witnessed a fight in a theater breakout, like a verbal fight where the movie was in its end credits, and someone yelled at the screen, "Will Ferrell, I want my money back." And someone went, "Screw you. That movie's great." Like, "What are you talking about? It's a piece of shit." "What? Who are you talking to? Huh?" I was like, "Who fight?" It's like this stupid comedy. So, Anchorman's number one. All the movies I've done with Adam, those are always. That's such a special thing.
And you guys have like 20 years now?
Yeah,
going back to SNL?
1995, yeah.
When he used to pop out of the audience in the monologue,
Yeah,
Adam?
exactly. Good.
He was good in
eye.
those.
He was great. He was always great.
We're taking a quick break to talk about Quicken Loans. When it comes to the massive decision of choosing a mortgage lender, it's important to work with someone you can trust, who has your best interests in mind. Kind of like me with this podcast. I always have your best interests in mind. With Rocket Mortgage, you'll get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. Kind of like when the Warriors signed Kevin Durant and won the title. Don't waste time searching through stacks of paperwork. With Rocket Mortgage, you can securely share your financial info to get a mortgage approved in minutes. You can even adjust the rate and length of your loan in real time to make sure you get the mortgage solution that's right for you, whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance your existing mortgage. You can lift the burden of getting a home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, skip the bank, skip the waiting, go completely online at quickenloans.com/Bill Simmons. That's my name. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Back to Will Ferrell. When did you decide that? At what point during the SNL experience did you decide you wanted to do a potential movie with him, or that would even make sense?
I had like a weird deal coming off of doing one of those SNL movies, doing the Night at the Roxbury.
Don't seem sad about Night at the Roxbury.
I'm not sad. I'm just saying.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm a defender.
I'm not gonna.
Okay. Yeah. Don't.
Yeah.
All right.
I am pleasantly surprised.
Good.
At how that has grown into a beautiful oak tree.
Solid.
Solid oak. A California oak. But I owed them 2 more movies that I had to either be in, or it was a great deal.
Drugs.
Yeah.
I owe you 2 more movies.
Man. And I said to McKay, I'm like, because we were getting to know each other, we're writing sketches, and I'm like, would you ever want to write a feature together? He's like, yeah. He's like, you mean like a character from the show? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It was something completely different.
But that was the 90s. That's what people did. You had a character, you wrote the movie.
I'm like, no, let's make lemonade out of lemons here, and let's just write something totally different. So we sat down and on spec wrote this script called August Blowout that was never made. but it was like a Glengarry, Glen Ross meets a car dealership, and it was kind of. It was just kind of going back to those comedies that we had grown up on.
Right. Like used cars and that whole
and
era.
just where you had big, funny ensemble casts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this one single funny person and everyone is the straight man and just reacts. We thought, let's just get a bunch of people being funny at the same time. And so we wrote it, and we went through Lorne Michaels really liked it. He liked that it was such a different move. It was going to be an R-rated comedy, but once again, no one wanted to make it. It was stuck at Paramount, and the regime at that time just.
So does that mean the movie goes away, or you can still make it?
They won't put it in turnaround. They wouldn't give it to other places, but it became this script that everyone read in Hollywood and was like, why won't they make that? We're like, they won't, and they won't put it in turnaround. And so that was our first experience of just being in a room, having the best time, just kind of.
That sounds like every terrible Hollywood story.
It does.
Everyone has like 3 of.
That's why it's incredibly cliche, and it's.
But couldn't you just take that script now and go to Netflix and be like, here, guys, and they'd be like, oh, here's
we could,
50
but
million
we've
bucks.
now pilfered so many moves from it. It would just seem,
You pick the carcass.
Yeah. That's what it would be.
Grab the liver,
that
kidney.
Would be Ebert's review. This is a carcass. This is a picked over carcass of a movie. Not even the toes were left. This might as well be dust.
So then you did Old School without him.
We wrote that. I went and did Old School, shot it during my last season of SNL.
Did you know Old School was going to be big?
No.
No idea.
In fact, it was supposed to come out in November, and they held on to it till February.
Yeah.
Which is usually not a great sign. But in hindsight, they were right. They didn't want to. It was actually supposed to open up against 8 Mile, the Eminem vehicle, which I think
it did well.
Crushed. Yeah. And then Paul Thomas Anderson came and guest wrote for a week on SNL.
I remember Seth Meyers talked about this once on my podcast.
And he came and
bizarre.
He loved the show. He wanted to see kind of the mechanism of how, we do things. And I think maybe it was 2 weeks, maybe it was back-to-back weeks. And he sat down with us and he's like, he's like, I read that August Blowout. He's like, what if you guys wrote whatever you wanted to write and I would shepherd it for you and kind of figure out how to make it. We'd do it.
Yeah.
We'd do it in a heartbeat, and we'd write it on spec. And so that's when we wrote Anchorman. And
so he was one of the guardian angels.
He was one of the guardian angels, even though I think the first incarnation of that was maybe a little too weird for Paul.
That's saying something. He made Magnolia.
Yeah, I know.
Was he the one who introduced you to John C. Reilly?
Did Adam ever tell you the first version of Anchorman?
No.
The first version of Anchorman is basically the movie Alive, where it's the year is 1976.
Yeah.
And we are flying to Philadelphia to celebrate the bicentennial, and also all the newsmen from around the country are flying in from their affiliates to have some big convention.
Yeah.
And Ron convinces the pilot that he knows how to fly the charter jet.
Oh, no.
And he immediately crash lands it in the mountains. And it's just the story of them surviving and trying to get off the mountainside. While part of they clipped a cargo plane. That's what caused them. And the cargo plane crashed as well, close to them. And it was carrying only boxes of orangutans and Chinese throwing stars. So throughout the movie, we're being stalked by orangutans who are killing one by one the team off with throwing stars.
Oh my God.
And Veronica Corningstone just keeps saying things like, guys, I know that if we just head down, we'll hit civilization. And we keep telling her wrong. She doesn't know what we're talking about. Anyway, so that was the first version of the movie. And it was in Paul's defense, it was kind of too weird.
Kooky.
Still too kooky. So,
all right, back to SNL.
I feel like I'm talking way too much.
Well, you're the guest on a podcast.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
That's
right?
how it works.
Yeah. All right, good.
How does John C. Reilly wasn't in Anchorman, right?
He wasn't.
He'd have like a conflict of
he'd have
scheduling
a conflict with Martin Scorsese.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's a good conflict.
Yeah. A little movie called Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
So we were like, we got it. But that's why we circled back to him for Talladega.
Yeah. And then eventually
Step
Brothers.
Brothers.
All right, so going
Right.
back.
Yeah.
SNL, you show up. It's the year after the season that, I mean, this happens like every decade
Saturday
with SNL.
Night Dead.
Yeah. Chris Smith from New York Magazine goes in. That was not a great season. I mean, it definitely, I always feel like SNL, when it's got the individual stars that aren't like the glue guy cast members, if the balance is off, you end up with a season like that one where you have
Right.
great big personalities, but it's not a sketch show. So your season comes, and I actually remember where I watched the first episode. I had no idea who you were. It was
Sure.
pre-internet. What was it,
Right.
95?
Yeah.
No YouTube yet.
Right.
People showed up at SNL, and you're like, who's that?
Right.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
And you did Get Off the Shed.
Right.
You did the Meryl Hemingway, you keep interrupting her on the
Yeah,
phone.
exactly.
Which was-
Right. Good.
which
good
is a
memory.
great one.
Yeah.
And then one other one, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm buying stock. That guy.
Wow.
That guy.
Okay.
I don't know. That guy's something. He's
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
But so the Get Off the Shed guy, that was a character that you had in the past, right?
I had done. I had written a sketch with another friend of mine at the Groundlings here in LA. Yeah, basically about two suburban dads who are just having this benign conversation in the backyard at the barbecue. And for whatever reason, they're obsessed about these off-camera children playing on a shed.
Right.
Whatever. I guess it's a lawnmower shed. I don't even know what it is. But
it's always
we never see it.
It's
Yeah.
never clear.
and that keeps escalating, and they keep returning back to their benign conversation. And
Right.
So I auditioned with that. I auditioned with
Oh,
a
smart.
monologue version of that, and then put it into sketch form to do it on the first show. So yeah, so I was the first sketch of our cast, of that new cast for that first show
Nervous?
of that season. Not nervous at first, because if you've ever been to, have you ever been?
Yeah.
You've been, right? So you have the dress rehearsal
Right. So you bang out some
from
of the
8 to
nerves.
10, which feels exactly like the real show. Got through that. It's like, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And then we were, 95. So we were still doing OJ sketches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Norm was on Weekend Update.
Right. And so I was once again in the cold open, we did some sort of OJ sketch, and I was playing a news anchor that began the sketch. So I was going to be the first person on camera, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting out there, and they count it down, and Lorne Michaels walks by. He's like, "No pressure, but the whole show's riding on you," and which he meant it to be funny, and I took it as very funny, and it totally cracked me up. But then as I'm sitting there, I look out in the audience. I'm like, "There's my mom. There's her friend Roberta.
Yeah.
There's my brother. And all of a sudden, it starts in that one moment, adding up that, wow, I'm actually going to be live on Saturday Night Live. This thing I've thought about, dreamed about, whatever you want
Yeah. I mean,
to say. And it comes up, and I had just a simple 4-line exchange, and I totally flubbed the first line. So if you watch that first show, I flub. The first time I ever speak on SNL, I totally flub. And
then you got.
and then he came back, and we were getting ready for the Get Off the Shed set, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I was fine from that point on. But that was my one. Yeah,
That was a good season.
that
they
we
showed
slowly found our way. Yeah,
Chris Cornell died like a month and a half ago, and they reran the Jim Carrey episode, which I think's in the conversation. There's no greatest SNL episode ever,
No.
but I think there's probably 15 or 20 that are just at a higher
when
level.
Jim came on. That was a great.
He's at his apex.
And
And he
we
jumps
wrote
in and
funny
does Night at the
things.
Roxbury with
Yeah.
you guys, and his head is going in 7 different
it's
directions.
crazy.
And
we did a cheerleaders with him.
oh my
we
God.
Did he was just amazing in every single thing. Yeah.
yeah, he was, out of all the people who weren't actually on the show, he's got to be one of the people. I
Well,
mean, he kind of was in Living Color, so it's. cheating, but
Lauren has this ceremonial Tuesday night dinner
yeah,
which is odd because Tuesday night's the night you write
right.
all the sketches.
You're
and
supposed to
stay
stay
up
up till
late.
5 in the morning.
And then you get tapped on the shoulder to go to the dinner, which you're like, oh, cool. I get to go to the dinner with the host. But it's right in the middle of your writing. So you're like, But I remember he literally said to Jim Carrey, well, you're one of the few people I can't take credit for. Like, I totally passed on you. Because he did.
Oh, wow.
Jim auditioned and remembered it. And Jim was like, yep. And that's all they said. But yeah, he's kind of he's one of those guys who can kind of step in and do whatever.
Seth always said those were the greatest guys for the show. It like was such a relief for everybody when you had somebody who could just do anything, a host that you wouldn't have to cheat with at all.
But then you can't underestimate the Steve Buscemi's of the world. Those actors that would come in and also just they weren't worried about being funny.
Yeah.
So subsequently they became so funny because they would just commit to whatever the premise and whatever the character was, and they ended up having amazing shows. Because they were like, oh yeah, I'll play this one little thing, or I'll be the big thing. But anytime there was like a legit dramatic actor, like Billy Bob Thornton, I remember we had an amazing show with him. And
I remember that. You never know. That's one of the best things about SNL.
Yeah.
I remember Ariana Grande was really good, and that surprised me. It was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, you just sometimes people you
and
don't expect.
And subsequently, Tom Hanks, one of the greatest hosts of all time, we wrote like such a terrible show for him. But anyway.
And he's Tom Hanks.
He walked off.
He's like, fuck you guys.
He didn't even complete the show. He left halfway.
What out of all the sketches, which one do you think? What was the all-time kill of all the sketches that you had? The one that the all-time home run, the Aaron Judge 500-foot homer.
Aaron Judge. By the way, that guy's crazy, right?
It makes me so mad. I thought we buried the Yankees. I thought it was over, and now they have 6'6" Aaron Judge hitting 500-foot home runs.
Who's like he's chiseled out of stone.
Yeah, it's like it's like the
beautiful
natural
looking man.
It's so upsetting.
It's June 14th, and he
he's
already
got
has
20 homers.
22 or something. Yeah.
His rookie card is $1,500 somehow. His autographed refractor rookie card on Bowman.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a hard. I'm trying to remember. Well, they're just weird flashes.
Yeah.
I remember the first time in that first season we were on, where the audience went berserk, and it was Molly Shannon when she first did the Mary Catherine Gallagher sketch.
Oh, really?
To watch a female do physical comedy like that, the audience, not only were they gasped, but they were shrieks. They were the combination of how intensely studied that character was and how small it was at the same time. And
smelling the armpits.
So well observed.
Yeah.
And nervous, and really, if you think about it, a quiet character, and then exploding into all this madness. I was like, oh, I've never heard anything like that. That was a moment. There's a moment, once again, in that first year, a McKay sketch, the sketch Wake Up and Smile.
One of my all-timers.
When I lift the severed head,
David Allen Greer.
The
weatherman is dead.
Those were shrieks. I was like, whoa.
Did you guys ever see that one?
Yeah.
It's a top 7.
The weatherman is dead.
See, I got young guys.
Yeah.
These guys were like babies when this happened. That was a classic.
The weatherman is dead.
I will say my personal favorite with you was the Sarah Michelle Gellar one with the family eating dinner. Just because of the silences of it, and just like the audience didn't know what was going on. Like that one unfolded about as well as
Dodge Stratus.
Yeah,
Dodge Stratus.
They went to the Dodge Stratus.
Yep. No, that was a great one.
And she was really good in that one too.
She was amazing. And then I wrote another one with Amy and Gwyneth Paltrow, and I think that went really well too. Another sketch that just was the first time I did Harry Carey with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
we had a show about space. That I just took my time with that, and Jeff Goldblum, like people think he's breaking in the sketch, but he's not. He's actually just doing amazing acting, reacting to the audience like who, he's playing it very real as if, am I supposed to laugh at this guy?
Right.
Is he really an expert on science? He played it like a scientist who didn't know who Harry Carey was.
What about Cowbell? What was the reaction for Cowbell in the studio?
Cowbell was pretty huge too, but I think it wasn't as huge in dress as it was on air.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that was a sketch that I put up and didn't really get picked, and then I resubmitted it and rewrote it for Christopher Walken, and then
that was it.
It worked. Yeah. Yeah. So
that always gets mentioned in the greatest sketches ever conversation. It's got a lot of elements to it. It's got Walken's like out of his mind in it. You're great in it.
It's so
people are cracking up in it. I can't help it.
And Lauren was like, apparently in the room where they picked the sketches, he was like, "Is that a thing? Is the cowbell a thing in that song? Is that a thing people talk about?" And I had to go like, no one talks about it.
Not one person.
Every time I listen to Don't Fear the Reaper, I just hear the cowbell, and I was just driving the car going, what's that guy's life? What's his moment of greatness? What did he ever speak up? And
yeah.
So then I wrote that. Yeah.
Hey, quick break because you might be getting hungry. The podcast is so good it's activated your salivary glands. Salivary glands. Salivary glands. I want to talk to you about a legendary sandwich that's actually more than a sandwich. It's a sub. It's a damn good one at that. Jersey Mike's. I'm so excited Jersey Mike's sponsored the podcast. I love Jersey Mike's. I really love their number 44, the buffalo chicken cheesesteak with Frank's red hot sauce, lettuce, tomato, blue cheese dressing. I love the buffalo chicken wrap too. That's what I usually get actually because, you know, I try to be healthy. I live in California, but sometimes I can't resist and I go for number 44. They have one down the street from us. And guess what? Jersey Mike's subs just got even more legendary because you can now order from Jersey Mike's online. And right now, if you do it online, Jersey Mike's will hook you up with 10% off your order. They have been piling their subs high with sliced-to-order meats, cheeses, and fresh veggies since 1956. Can't believe it. So whether you're flying solo, buying for the squad, or playing Office Hero, order smarter with Jersey Mike's online because nothing is more delicious than an authentic East Coast style sub. This is making me hungry. Once again, 10% off when you order online at jerseymikes.com/BS. Get in, get out, get eating at jerseymikes.com/BS. Back to Will Ferrell. Was it hard for you to think about leaving or the movies? Do you feel like there's a shelf life? What was the process?
It was not hard, but I don't know if I would say it was easy because, you know, it was, it just kind of felt like you kind of have to just pick your moment of like, you know, I don't begrudge anyone for staying there as long as they want to stay.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you feel like you want to do other things, you kind of have to just take a flying leap, which is, you know, old school was in the can, but no one really knew if that was going to do anything. And the only other thing I had kind of quasi in development was a really bad script about a guy who was raised by elves at the North Pole and was like, okay, this could work.
Yeah.
I see the poster.
Yet another one that's been watched by every child under the age of 13.
But that's all. It's not like I had this, you know, you leave us and everyone talks about like, God, what a great launching pad. I'm like, not really. It's like a whole, you have to re-enter kind of entertainment society, even though whatever work you may do, because it's like dog years, you forget it's late night TV. It's not like the cast of Friends where you're on prime time and they know every single thing about you.
Yeah.
It went from like, where do I know you to wait, cheerleader guy.
Yeah.
To
George Bush guy.
I love you on Saturday Night Live to George Bush guy to Will Ferrell. It took 7 years just to even get name recognition.
Yeah, you have a couple years where you become Saturday Night Live's Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And that's just your entire name.
Now, I'm so thankful for it at the same time because it just allowed you to not have anything happen too fast. And
well, you also had an abnormally great writing staff when you showed
we
up.
we had such
I mean, a lot of those people have gone on to big things.
Yeah.
You know, which
and we had a fun group who wasn't. I mean, I really think it was a group of comedic actors who,
right.
Not to sound corny, but we got thrown into it at a time where we would joke like, well, we're either going to make it through this year or we'll be the last cast of the show.
Yeah.
And they'll just pull the plug. So to kind of be galvanized in that way.
Well, what's interesting about that is the first Phil Hartman cast was in the exact same situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
This could be it.
And that was another legendary cast.
Hartman's, I mean, I would say, even though you're different than Hartman, but the role you filled on the show is very similar to what he was doing.
Phil Hartman and Dan Aykroyd were my two kind of heroes. Just, I loved how they would be they could equally be the funniest person in the sketch. At the same time, they could also be the 10th executive in the boardroom sketch who has one line, but when you cut to them,
they nail it.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And so I made it a point. I told Adam when we all first started, because there would be this, because you don't know, it's everyone's first job, so people approach it different ways. Some people are a little shy about things. Other people are like, okay, I'm big time now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to deliver the pizza in your sketch. No way. Give it to someone else. And I was like, I'll take any of the pizza boy parts. Like I'll take one-line parts. I remember getting tons of laughs being an off-camera voice in a sketch where they were just playing volleyball on the beach, and I was just an off-camera voice that would just intermittently throughout the sketch just go, beach volleyball. And the sketch would go on.
Yeah.
And I go, that's right, because it's beach volleyball. And I just said it like 4 times, and it would get a laugh every single time. And I thought, oh, that's something to remember. You don't have to,
So
carry the show every single time.
Were you watching it during the Belushi Aykroyd era?
I'm trying to remember if
I didn't start watching it until they started doing the reruns on like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the late 70s. That's when I caught up on all that stuff. Then from that point on, saw everything.
I kind of have probably towards the end of their run, I would have been like 8 or 9. Maybe I have some memory.
We're pretty much the same age.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I have some memory of seeing some of that stuff. But I also got were you a member of the Columbia House Records and Tape Club?
Oh, in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
13 albums for a penny.
For a penny.
Which really was $1.99 because you had to throw in postage and handling.
But then you ended up owing like $700 somehow. Eventually.
Oh, yeah. It
they
would
just
bite
kept
you.
coming after you.
Yeah, it's a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Or they just send you. But one of the things I got was a Saturday Night Live album. So I just listened to the sketches on an album.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
who would have been the most fun out of all the casts for 40 plus years? Who would have been the most fun to be in the cast with that didn't overlap with you?
I think Bill Murray. I think definitely Aykroyd and Hartman, and who? Obviously, he's one of the kings, but he's still not talked about that much on an SNL level. Is Eddie Murphy?
Yeah, he is by me.
But a lot of people don't bring him up in the way that I think you should. I mean, Eddie.
It's because you have to be in our age range or a little bit younger to even remember it.
Or you just think of Delirious, or you think of the movies.
Yeah.
You for some reason you forget that he started, and the fact that he started at 18 or
19. Yeah,
it's so nuts. So yeah.
And was basically carrying the show when he was 21.
Every time.
He was like the franchise dude.
So crazy. So, I mean, Eddie Murphy for sure.
Yeah, he's the only cast member I remember that like by year 2 it was like, this guy's leaving.
But I also loved the season with Harry Shearer and Billy Crystal and
that was the Yankees free agent season.
Yeah,
they just went out and Crystal and all those people.
And Chris Gass.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Martin Short.
What do you think about now with like this season was really interesting because I feel like the show is as big as it's ever been culturally.
Yeah.
And yet the cast, they really relied on non-cast members more than I've ever seen.
It was it was, I mean, very fun for the viewers.
Yeah.
Everything. I thought they wrote some really funny stuff, had some great observations, and there were great performances, but it was, you know, you were cognizant of the fact that like, oh, you're not watching the cast here.
Yeah. It was unorthodox.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't know what that means for next season. I don't know. And for like someone like Alec Baldwin, is
this just who he is though?
Does he just keep coming back? Because I know at a certain point, he's probably like, oh, gosh, I guess I should go do Trump.
Right.
But I have other things I want. I don't know. Like he's kind of on call.
One of the reasons I liked your Bush so much was because it wasn't really Bush. It was the twist on Bush, which I think sometimes the SNL impressions where it's just a dead-on impersonation are never the best ones.
Yeah.
What would you do with Trump? Have you thought about that? What would be could you put a twist on him, or is he just, it's so twisted already you can't even tweak it?
I don't know. I mean, I think, everyone kind of, I get asked that question about,
oh, now I feel like a loser.
No.
I asked you a question you're getting all the time.
That
Jesus.
I hate. It's the question I hate the most. No. No, I'll get asked like, what would you do? Like, what was your take on Barack, or what would you do on this, and what would you? And it's so funny because I don't really view. I view kind of those moments of where I did Bush or any sort of impersonation, in quotes.
Yeah.
I'm not really an impressionist.
Right.
I would just find I'd find an excuse to do. Like there was no reason to start doing Robert Goulet. There's no reason to do Janet Reno.
Yeah.
There's no reason, you know, Bush was topical, and Harry Carey, like, so I would just find people that I either had a handle on or thought, oh, this would be funny to force the audience to have to watch.
Right.
So my long-winded point is I don't really view myself as someone who was sitting around thinking like, oh, what would be my
here's
angle?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have that skill set where like Daryl Hammond was like a genius at breaking down people, and
it seems like haters like that too. When he just picks up some vocal tick or a voice thing.
Incredible.
And just goes.
But with Trump, I mean, I think Alec Baldwin's done to me, like you exaggerate those kind of features of his, but it's a bizarre impression, or I
don't even know if I don't know what the right word is.
Yeah, because of the content of what he's saying, and it's so bizarre and damaging that it's not even funny to comment, or when you comment on it. It was it was funny during the campaign, and now it's now he's running the thing. So
and you can't even tell the difference between
Yeah.
We forgot the strategery sketch that
strategery.
murdered in the audience.
That murdered.
Yeah, that one killed.
That one murdered.
That was
also,
an all-time kill.
We had a couple of during the runoff, the missing Chads, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That period of time, there were some ones that murdered. Like we did a Odd Couple sketch with Gore and Bush. We did a couple sketches where I would start out giving, and I think they used this move, and I don't think they did it knowingly, but where I'd start out giving an address at the Oval Office at the big desk, and then Cheney walk in and go, get to your little desk, and I had a little tiny student's desk. Those things would murder. And McKay wrote a soap opera too, like West Palm Beach Nights. But anyway, that was in the zone.
Hey, you did that Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
You snuck it in.
Another one of my favorite projects ever.
You snuck it in. Nobody knew what was going on.
We were just in Austin.
You played it all straight.
Yep.
I've been watching a lot of Lifetime movies the last 6 months. My daughter likes them.
Okay.
And it's a safe space, right? It's a horror movie, but it's not really, and it hits the same beats every time. So I'm guessing you just became fascinated by Lifetime movies. Is that what happened?
I did in not a because we actually just screened the movie in Austin for the Austin Television Festival last week and had a Q&A afterwards. And someone asked me, like, what's your favorite Lifetime movie? I'm like, I couldn't even tell you. But I would just, channel surfing, stop on Lifetime for 10 minutes, which is all you need to do to stay there.
Same beats every time.
Pick up the tone and it hit me like, it'd be so funny to get a cast of either comedians or maybe just one or two and just do a Lifetime movie and play it straight the whole way through. And that's how it happened. Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it was up there with some of the other
and
classic,
it's really fun to watch it with an
weird
audience.
Lifetime movies.
Because the first 5 minutes, they're like, what the fuck is happening here? And they're not. And then they slowly kind of catch up to it. And then they're laughing like really hard. And then they're not, because they kind of get wrapped up in the story.
Yeah.
And
what was the plot? I only saw it once.
The plot was Kristen Wiig. I'm a famous financial book author.
Yeah.
Best-selling.
Yeah.
Robert Benson. The Robert Benson. Kristen Wiig is my wife. We have a wonderful little daughter named Sully, who's a diabetic. And we something's tense around us.
Yeah.
And she suffered. We find out that she had a miscarriage with our second child because she fell off a crumbling dock that we had.
Oh.
We live near Storm Lake.
Yeah.
And the dock crumbled. And I was always like, be careful around the dock. And lo and behold,
Dock crumbled.
dock crumbles.
Yeah. Right.
My wife's okay, but she loses the baby. Cut to, we decide to house a surrogate who wants to give up her child
This is
for an adoption.
half of the Lifetime movies involve a surrogate of some kind.
We find out later that the surrogate who's living amongst us is actually just a stalker of mine,
Yeah.
and she's wearing a fake baby bump the whole time.
Was there a concerned friend who was onto her first?
Yes.
Okay, good.
They're
The concerned friend's always the best
concerned
one.
friend who played by this comedian, this guy Brian Safi, yeah, who does this show Throwing Shade that we did for Funny or Die. Anyway, Safi plays. He helps Wig with her organic bakery kind of roadside stand. And he's kind of like, something's not right here.
So he dies about the 1 minute, 1 hour, 10 minute mark?
He lasts a long time.
Okay.
He is murdered execution style, which someone brought up. And we find our daughter gets abducted at one point.
Of course.
Everything's fine in the end. Obviously, of course. We're back as one big happy family. I've lightened up. And we do this corny scene where we're dancing for 2 minutes in the kitchen to this bad song.
I remember.
And someone in the Q&A was like, you didn't seem very concerned about the death of your friend who got murdered because he went snooping around their hideout. And we're like, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I go, it was 6 months later. Maybe we're just past the mourning period. Yeah. But those are kind of the rough beats of Deadly Adoption.
What year did Funny or Die start?
10 years ago, 2007.
And you're still how involved?
So what?
How involved are you with it now?
I am.
Because originally it was you, McKay, Little
I have
Apatow.
my fingers on the pulse.
Okay. Was it just you and McKay? Apatow was involved?
It was McKay, myself, Chris Henchy,
Yeah.
and a couple writers, and that was it. And then we kind of started. Then Judd kind of came in towards the end of year one, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, but now it's an army of people.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
And you guys have never, you never sold it. You never really did anything with it, right?
No, we had a couple of potential things that never quite happened. we have now a partnership with I was about to say Lifetime with IFC.
Yeah.
So they now have a stake, and if we hit certain thresholds, that could become a bigger stake. But yeah, it's it's kind of it was one of those things where, because of the business model where we just were like, come and do something just for shits and giggles, and have a platform where no one's going to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're not going to pay you.
But you're giving them the platform.
But we give them the platform. At the same time, that, while it's been a great success story, it's also a hard thing to figure out what to do for the next step in a way. Yeah.
How many people do you have?
We we did a little bit of down, but it got really big at one point. But I think there's at least 50, 60, 80 people, something around there.
Do you walk in?
Lots of people I don't.
Yeah, you walk in
No.
every once in a while, just shake some hands, wave.
Yeah.
Hey,
Pass out candy bars. And does anyone want to use my Kings tickets tonight? So
You still have the Kings tickets?
I do.
I gave them up this year.
Really?
It's just, the regular
It's a
season
lot.
hockey is just too much. The 41 games.
It's a lot.
And it's so easy to get tickets now in the secondary market that I just feel like anytime I want to go, I'm going to be able to get tickets.
I love going, but I know.
You've done some good scoreboard, Jumbotron
I've done
work.
some good Jumbotron work, and then they took me down.
Did they replace you, or they just took you down?
They don't have really much Jumbotron action happening. But I had a couple nice moments there, and then all of a sudden, so I don't know if
they fired their coach.
it was something I said.
Well, they fired their coach, and his son was the star of the Jumbotron. I don't know how they replaced him either. Maybe they're going to bring him back. Maybe they need you. Maybe you guys film some more stuff.
More than ever.
Yeah.
But between, I have like 10 to 15 Laker games a year that I'm...
Do your kids care? They're sports fans or not really?
They kind of... They care, but then it's always on a weeknight, so it's hard to...
Yeah, once the homework starts. I'm always jealous of...
Yeah.
I can't believe... My son's finally getting into baseball.
Right.
But I can't believe my son isn't like this sports freak. I really feel like the iPad ruined it for me. Once they have the iPad and they can just like go call up YouTube clips and all these different things and the iPhone, everything. It's like, why is he going to sit through a baseball game, a basketball game, anything?
I was thinking of just how much basketball has changed in the sense of the way the game is played.
Yeah.
And like, if I'm playing in a pickup game, I still run down to the block,
right,
and post up.
Old school.
Because that's what I did in high school. And I was trying to teach my 10-year-old, who's really big for his size, like, that's all you have to do. And he's like, gets the ball, immediately goes to the 3-point line,
right,
and launches it.
That's every big guy coming into college now.
And then I start, now I'm like, oh gosh, will that have a revival? Will someone start playing more? Will there be some revolutionary new coach who's like, I want 2 guys down on the block?
Yeah, we're pounding them down low.
Wow. Or is that gone now? Because guys just have to run and defend. And
the problem is because of AAU and all these games that these kids play. If you're the big guy who's in the low post and you're not getting the ball because everyone on the perimeter, they just freeze you out.
Why do I want to play?
So you're going to start shooting threes. That's the one way to get shots off, and that's it. It's a bummer.
So
yeah, I miss the old school McHale type of
YouTube is ruining a lot of things.
What
this phone, not YouTube, but this thing right here.
Yeah, that thing.
I'm holding up an iPhone for the listeners.
One more break to tell you about Spotify. You've heard of Spotify. Did you know you can listen to the Bill Simmons podcast, another podcast from the Ringer family, on Spotify? That's right. The streaming service that you know and love for music is also fully loaded with podcasts. Find us in the podcast section within the Browse tab when you're using Spotify on mobile or just by searching for the Bill Simmons podcast. This is something we'd actually been hoping would happen for the first year of when we had all these podcasts. We're like, where's Spotify? Well, Spotify's here. When you're there, click to follow us. It has a follow button. That allows you to have any new episode we do, whether it's the Bill Simmons podcast, the Ringer NBA show, The Watch, Larry Wilmore, Cousin Sal, whatever. You click the follow button and it's delivered right into your Spotify library. So again, search for the Bill Simmons podcast, click on the page, press the follow button, good to go. Here's how easy it is. Either do that or head to spotify.com/podcast for more. That is spotify.com/podcast, or download the Spotify app and just search for our podcast. Either way, we're all winners. Back to Will Ferrell. What about your kids having Will Ferrell as their dad? What have been some of the landmines with that one?
We've made a concerted effort to kind of not really talk about what their dad does so much as it is just it's a job. It's a really fun job. I get to do some crazy stuff, but they kind of have, I don't know, I think it's just growing up, occasionally seeing me on a poster, on Fairfax driving to school.
Yeah.
Has been this slow integration of like, oh yeah, there's dad. And, occasionally getting to visit a set and see what I do and see the mechanics behind it, and that there are definitely slow workman-like parts to it. And the fact that I've never coerced them to watch anything I do.
Yeah.
And, I was just laughing today. One of the boys were like, Dad, what are you doing today? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing some press. It didn't even dawn on me to say, oh, I'm going to do a pre-tape with Drake and DeMar DeRozan. Because I don't know if they even know who DeMar DeRozan is, but Drake,
they'll know who Drake is,
and they'll be so mad at me that I forgot to tell them, Drake, why couldn't we come? And then Bill Simmons forget it.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and Drake were.
I didn't want to
rivals for a long time.
With these three kids just staring at
seriously, that would have been really awkward for me. Yeah.
With tons of things for you to sign.
Is the 13-year-old a boy or a girl?
He's a boy. There are three boys.
Okay.
So
what changes at 13?
They all kind of take it in stride. I think, but I've caught them in moments kind of like, yeah, Will Ferrell's my dad. Just so you know. So when they need to play that card, they'll be like, yeah. But the older boy, he's at a new school this year. He just started 7th grade. And when we were touring the school, doing the touring of all the schools, we saw him take his name tag off. He noticed kids treated him differently if they saw it was Ferrell as last name. And he just wanted to be, approached as a...
He's Robert Benson?
He's Robert Benson.
He's an acclaimed business book author. Robert Benson Jr.
Another insane scene in the Lifetime movie is the flashback of where I'm piecing it together that I've met this woman before, and I have a flashback to a crazy after party at one of my book signings where it's like disco lights and we're kind of hammered, and then she takes me into the rainy alley behind a bar and we start making out. It's a sordid world of financial book authors.
What happens in 7th grade, age 13? What should I be ready for?
How old is your oldest?
My daughter's sixth grade, age 12. They're people in our class are fake dating now. Like they start texting and it's like, oh, they're dating. It's like, have they been on a date? No.
Yeah.
But they're dating. It's all confusing. I don't get it.
Well, for the boy, it's pretty much, it's the typical thing of like...
Snapchat?
It's Snapchat. Yeah, Snapchat was a big deal to get, and then
feels like Instagram is kind of...
I don't really feel like he's talking about it so much. Well, it'll be the bar and bat mitzvah tour next year.
Oh yeah, there's schedules for it and stuff.
Like 20 of them this year. Yeah.
Just same suit every time, or did you buy him like 3 suits?
No, he mixes it up. Yeah. But then there's a lot of like, do you want to go to so-and-so's parent is asking me, are you going to go? Yeah. Come to the day of. Let's get ready. What? You got to go to so-and-so's bar mitzvah. Oh. I barely know him. Why did you say yes then? You got invited. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
a lot of negotiating next year.
A lot of negotiating. Okay.
But see, girls are different. You might already be...
Age 12 is a lot of exasperation, which really breaks my heart. It started like 4 or 5 months ago. And I'm just exasperating now. I used to be like her favorite person. Now I'm just exasperated.
Well, that'll get...
Dad,
Forget
Jesus,
it. No.
Dad.
You're going to get the Heisman constantly.
Yeah, it's going to hurt my feelings.
Drop them off. Also, too, I don't know what school you're at right now, but that whole elementary school vibe of be super involved in your kid's school, and the next school, they're like, drop them off and just leave.
And send us a check when we ask you for money.
A healthy check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop them off, that's it.
Drop them off. So it's a huge point of separation.
Yeah, my daughter plays soccer, so I have her trapped in the car a lot, driving to games, which is good.
Yeah.
Because if you have them trapped, eventually you can break them down.
All the time?
I take it when we drive.
See,
give
good
me
for you.
Yeah. Because you make you talk. Then I find out all the gossip, the 6th grade gossip, which is very important.
See, I can't get any.
You can't get gossip. The boys are
out of the boy.
Yeah, the boys are rocks. The girls will break. The boys won't say anything.
I have to ask strategic questions like, "Hey, I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
Remember how you said whatever happened with the thing about the thing? Oh well, you see, and then I can get him.
Right.
It's my little trick.
Right.
Otherwise, anything going on with your friends? No, nothing.
Your son's probably he's 2 years away from just dying for you to be working late at the set, right?
But he's already...
Dad's filming something in Canada this weekend, and my mom's out, party.
Oh my gosh.
That's happening.
Yeah, he's already lobbying to be left alone at the house.
Yeah.
Well, what's the age to do that?
I don't know. There's no handbook anymore. What's the age to put your kid in an Uber?
Because I'm the exact wrong person to ask.
Yeah, me too.
I was a latchkey kid. I was letting myself in.
Me too.
And making my own snack.
That was our era, though. We were like the
apartment.
Kramer versus Kramer era.
Turning on Bonanza
right.
with my PBJ in 4th grade. With Karen, the neighbor, checking on me.
Right. Making your Stouffer's macaroni and cheese in the microwave.
Right.
Yeah, that was our generation.
There's $20 in the pot. Take your brother, walk down to Carl's Jr. for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
So.
You know who ruined that? Child molesters and murderers. It was all fun and games.
Amber Alert.
Yes. Yeah, Amber Alerts. It was all fun and games until they started grabbing those children.
Really found a voice.
Yeah, I was 6th grade, 7th grade. I was alone every day from like 2 to 6.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Got myself home, did everything, had the key.
You would be chastised for that.
Oh, you'd be the worst parent of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I think we're too overprotective the other way. I think there's probably some sort of a middle ground that's closer to.
That's why we every summer we go away to Sweden. Not for that reason. we have a connection. My wife's Swedish, so we have a place there, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and it's literally they get autonomy. They get to go. We're waiting for that other shoe to drop where the older guy's like, why can't I stay here with my friends? But he really loves it. Like they get to go ride their bikes. They get to just go. And we're like, go for it.
Well, pretty soon he's going to like the woman if he doesn't already. I'm going to guess there's some Swedish ladies. I'm like,
keep up the Swedish. Because my wife speaks Swedish too. And I'm like, you guys are going to be the California kids who speak English and Swedish.
Oh my God.
Forget it.
That's great. Yeah, our era was...
Is that good parenting?
Our era was you'd go to the...
Forget it, kid. Game over. A lot of my parenting, I just give in that voice. Kind of like a Jimmy the Greek type voice.
Jimmy the Greek. Yeah, our era, you just went to the dump. We went to the dump and see if anybody threw out Playboys. And that's how we entertained ourselves for 2 hours. I can't believe all the choices they have now.
We had a place called The Jumps.
The Jumps?
It was an undeveloped piece of land that had bike jumps for kids riding their bikes. Okay. So you're like, Mom, I'm going to The Jumps. But it was a good quarter mile away. It wasn't close by.
Nobody had to. You're just going to leave. Your parents hoped you came back.
I ran away once. I was so mad at my mom. I ran away for what I thought was an eternity.
Yeah.
I just ran to the end of our apartment complex. But I purposely and aggressively packed a backpack full of clothes in front of her that later I realized she didn't notice.
Yeah.
And stomped out and was gone for what I thought was like, I thought it was gone the whole day.
Now it'd be an Amber Alert.
Well, it was probably just a couple hours. I came back and my mom was like, "Oh, hi, honey, where were you?" Like, I ran away. Okay. It's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't notice." But
So the house
yes,
coming out Friday. How
Friday.
much press are you doing?
coming out Friday, June 30th, Friday.
June 30th Friday.
Yeah.
Thought it was this Friday.
No.
June 30th
We're on
Friday.
the early. We're
That's good.
Yeah.
You avoid.
Well,
Do you avoid?
what are we up against?
No, that's a good
Despicable
weekend.
Me 2?
No.
3.
Stop it. Come on.
That's different.
It's despicable.
And then there's some other movie, I think, with that Jamie Foxx, something about the baby.
Oh
Baby
yeah,
Driver.
they've been. I think you'll be fine.
Baby Drivers looks like one of those cult hit.
Yeah. So you have to. Do you? When you have these movies, do you decide how much press you're going to do, or do they tell you?
They tell you,
Yeah.
and then you kind of
Even now,
then you kind of decide. Because you want to support the movie.
Yeah.
You want to play ball. I mean, it's kind of it's that one component of the business where you're like, okay, I got to go do it. You try to make it as pleasurable as possible. But I have, from what the amount of stuff I used to do, I've been able now to kind of
Yeah.
scale it down slightly.
All right. Will Ferrell. I'm glad we finally did
I
this.
know, this was such a pleasure.
Do you want? Last question. Do you want
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball or not? Because you get LeVar Ball too. You get both. You get
See,
the
that's what
whole
I'm saying.
Ball family.
And the biggest question is that problematic in the pro game or not at all?
It's fine.
It's fine, right?
I would take Lonzo.
Would you?
I would.
Over the kid from Kentucky.
I would take Lonzo.
Okay.
I think he has the highest ceiling.
I'm thinking that he's got the way he sees the court
Yeah, it's
is
special.
pretty incredible.
It's special.
And
But it'll also, a lot of it depend on who his teammates are and what
Yeah.
his situation is. And if
Completely.
him with D'Angelo Russell seems like a strange combo to me, but
they'll have to figure out, they're so guard heavy.
yeah.
They'll have to figure something out. And also too is Ingram.
Yeah, what is
Is
it?
he for real?
He's like a year older than your son.
I know.
Yeah.
And so that's
How do
a
you
hard
know?
one to figure out.
6'11", 120 pounds.
But if he can kind of,
I think you're in good shape. I think LeBron's coming in a year and everybody will be happy. I think that's happening.
Really?
I do. I wouldn't bet my life on it,
Yeah.
but I think it's in play. We'll know more this summer by what kind of moves
I finally
they make.
met LeBron
Yeah?
a couple months ago, and I told him he should think about running for president.
What did he say?
He just laughed. Yeah. Said, thank you. I appreciate it.
I thought he would have said, like, I can't beat The Rock. Nobody's going to beat that guy.
But I just said, look, I have to say something to you. I was talking to my wife, but I had an epiphany. You need to start thinking about running for president.
President LeBron.
You're articulate. You're from You're from the Midwest.
Yeah?
You know the plight of the forgotten
Yep.
Rust Belt. And you're incredibly popular.
And you have a huge social media presence,
Yes.
which seems to be the most important thing now.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
you have a massive social media
You're
presence.
big on Instagram, which is now the number one determining factor. Yeah.
Isn't it funny with all the Trump stuff, all the pundits you watch who talk about every various issue?
Yeah.
I've seen 20 to 30 to 50 people who all would do a better job. There's just so many smart people out there.
Yeah.
And you listen to them talk. Anyway, these two guys voted for Trump, I can tell.
I don't even think they're allowed to vote yet. All right, Will
All right.
Ferrell. I'm
Thanks,
glad we
Will.
finally
Thank
did
you.
this.
So
That was
great.
great. Thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks again to Will Ferrell. Thanks to the Ringer NBA show. Once again, if you want to hear some basketball talk, go there. I talked to Chris Ryan about hoops for a solid hour. Thanks to Hotel Tonight. It's an app that helps you find amazing hotel deals at the last minute, up to 7 days in advance. Perfect for a spontaneous getaway or even a little staycation. Booking on Hotel Tonight gives you the freedom and flexibility to play things by ear while knowing you will score a great price and a great place to stay. Get in on these killer last-minute deals and download the Hotel Tonight app right now. Thanks again to Spotify. Listen to the Bill Simmons podcast and other podcasts from the Ringer family on Spotify, the streaming service that you know and you love for music. Only now, it's fully loaded with podcasts. Find our Ringer pods or my podcast in the podcast section within the Browse tab when you're using Spotify on mobile, or just by searching for the Bill Simmons podcast. And while you're there, click to follow us to have our new episodes delivered right into your Spotify library. Head to spotify.com/podcast for more. Don't forget to check out theringer.com. Month 13. This is our wheelhouse right now. NBA draft, NBA free agency coming up, Game of Thrones, NFL is starting to lurk, some good pop culture. Tech has never been crazier. Check it all out, theringer.com. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back next week with a whole ton of stuff coming. Very excited for the NBA draft. Enjoy the weekend.